Hidden beneath oceans and seas lie the greatest engineering achievements ever built, the world's longest underwater tunnels. Today, I'll take you through the world's longest underwater tunnels, from survey to completion, step by step.
The world's longest underwater tunnels start with planning, identifying seabed conditions and route alignment.
Engineers choose project KPIs before work begins on the world's longest underwater tunnels.
We determine key design loads for the world's longest underwater tunnels: pressure, seismic loads, and water forces.
First, we assemble the project team for the world's longest underwater tunnels: geologists, designs, fabricators.
Before we dig, we review legal and marine permits required for the world's longest underwater tunnels. Contractors prepare health and safety plans for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
This is our project baseline schedule for building the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Budget validation ensures financing for the world's longest underwater tunnels is secured.
Now let's start on the world's longest underwater tunnels manufacturing journey with geological surveys.
We conduct geological surveys that form the foundation of the world's longest underwater tunnels design. Marine seismic testing reveals strata for the world's longest underwater tunnels route.
We drilled test bores to extract cores for the world's longest underwater tunnels analysis.
Core samples show sediment layers critical to the world's longest underwater tunnel structure.
Lab tests on cores tell us density and porosity for the world's longest underwater tunnels foundation.
We record groundwater pressures to plan drainage in the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Seismic risk maps are developed for the world's longest underwater tunnels. We input all data into 3D models for the world's longest underwater tunnels engineering. Model outputs show stress points for the world's longest underwater tunnels alignment. Geological surveys guide TBM specs for the world's longest underwater tunnels. Survey teams mark out launch and extraction sites for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Next, we review sediment stability for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Marine current analyses help design support systems in the world's longest underwater tunnels. Now, we finalize bore alignment tolerances for the world's longest underwater tunnels. All geological data feeds into manufacturing the cutter head for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
We extract bathymetric data for seabed profiling in the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Environmental surveys ensure minimal impact from the world's longest underwater tunnels construction.
Noise impact studies are part of the world's longest underwater tunnels planning.
Ocean life habitats are documented before the world's longest underwater tunnels begin.
Now that surveys are complete, we begin manufacturing planning for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
We start TBM design tailored for the world's longest underwater tunnels length and geology.
Cutter head size is determined for the world's longest underwater tunnels diameter requirement.
Material selection ensures the TBM for the world's longest underwater tunnels withstands abrasion. Heat-treated steel, a must for the world's longest underwater tunnels TBM cutters.
Precision machining prepares each cutter bit for the world's longest underwater tunnels TBM.
TBM segment erectors are designed next for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
We integrate sensors into the TBM for real-time feedback
in the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Hydraulic modules are built for thrusting the TBM through the world's longest underwater tunnels. TBM wheel assemblies are stress tested for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
We assemble the TBM cutter head for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
TBM electronics are calibrated for precision in the world's longest underwater tunnels. Control systems are mapped for the world's longest underwater tunnels, TBM.
We test drive the TBM on mock rails before it starts on the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Cooling systems are essential for the world's longest underwater tunnels, TBM operation.
Now we inspect the TBM final assembly for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Documentation is reviewed before shipping the TBM for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Transport logistics are planned for delivery to the world's longest underwater tunnel site.
We label each TBM component for installation in the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Every sensor and cable is tagged for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
The TBM is now ready for deployment at the world's longest underwater tunnels construction site.
While the TBM is shipped, we manufacture tunnel rings for the world's longest underwater tunnels. For the world's longest underwater tunnels, tunnel lining segments are manufactured in precast concrete factories.
Steel reinforcement cages are fabricated first for the world's longest underwater tunnel segments.
Each reinforcement cage is dimension checked to meet world's longest underwater tunnels tolerances.
High-strength concrete is mixed specifically for world's longest underwater tunnels pressure conditions.
Concrete is poured into precision molds for the world's longest underwater tunnels lining segments. Vibration tables remove air voids in world's longest underwater tunnels concrete segments.
Each world's longest underwater tunnel segment is steam cured for strength and durability.
After curing, segments for world's longest underwater tunnels are demolded carefully. Surface finishing ensures sealing accuracy for world's longest underwater tunnel segments. Rubber gaskets are installed to waterproof world's longest underwater tunnels joints. Each segment is laser scanned to verify geometry for world's longest underwater tunnels. Finished segments are labeled for sequence placement in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Quality inspectors check micro cracks on world's longest underwater tunnels segments.
Logistics teams schedule segment delivery for world's longest underwater tunnels construction.
Each shipment is tracked digitally for world's longest underwater tunnels accuracy.
Backup segment production ensures no delays in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Segment stockpiles are protected from weather for world's longest underwater tunnels. Final approvals release segments for world's longest underwater tunnels installation. Now segment manufacturing supports non-stop boring of world's longest underwater tunnels. Construction starts with launch shaft excavation for the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Retaining walls stabilize the launch shaft of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Groundwater is pumped out to dry the world's longest underwater tunnels launch area.
Base slabs are poured to support the world's longest underwater tunnels, TBM.
The TBM is lowered into position for world's longest underwater tunnels excavation.
TBM components are assembled underground for world's longest underwater tunnels.
Laser guidance systems align the TBM for world's longest underwater tunnels.
Backup systems are tested before excavation of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Muck removal conveyors are installed for world's longest underwater tunnels.
Ventilation ducts supply fresh air into world's longest underwater tunnels.
Final safety checks approve TBM start for world's longest underwater tunnels.
The TBM cutter head begins rotating into the world's longest underwater tunnels route.
Excavated material is transported out of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Hydraulic thrust pushes the TBM forward in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Sensors constantly adjust direction inside world's longest underwater tunnels.
Stabilize the trajectory now.
Pressure balance prevents collapse in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Ground conditioning foam stabilizes soil for world's longest underwater tunnels.
Daily progress logs track excavation of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Maintenance crews service cutter tools in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Continuous boring keeps schedules tight for world's longest underwater tunnels.
After each advance, segments are installed inside the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Robotic arms place concrete rings for world's longest underwater tunnels. Bolts secure segment joints in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Gaskets compress to seal world's longest underwater tunnels from water. Grout is injected behind segments in world's longest underwater tunnels. Grouting transfers loads evenly in world's longest underwater tunnels. Structural monitoring sensors activate in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Each ring is checked for alignment in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Waterproofing integrity is tested inside world's longest underwater tunnels.
The TBM continues forward, leaving a finished tunnel behind in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Cross passages are excavated in world's longest underwater tunnels for safety.
Fire-resistant materials line world's longest underwater tunnels. Drainage channels are installed in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Electrical conduits run along world's longest underwater tunnels.
Lighting systems are mounted in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Lighting systems are mounted in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Ventilation fans regulate airflow in world's longest underwater tunnels. Control sensors connect to central monitoring of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Structural inspections confer integrity of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Tunnel excavation reaches final breakthrough in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Once excavation ends, finishing works begin
in the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Flight days. Road or rail beds are constructed inside the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Precision leveling ensures smooth travel in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Power systems are energized in world's longest underwater tunnels. Communication systems are tested in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Radio check, 1, 2.
Loud and clear.
Emergency lighting is activated inside the world's longest underwater tunnels.
Fire suppression systems are tested in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Water ingress tests confirm sealing of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Full-scale safety drills are conducted in world's longest underwater tunnels.
Operational simulations validate performance of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Independent inspectors certify world's longest underwater tunnels. Final cleaning prepares world's longest underwater tunnels for operation.
Signage and markings guide users through world's longest underwater tunnels.
System redundancy checks ensure reliability of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Control rooms monitor every parameter of world's longest underwater tunnels.
Performance data confirms readiness of world's longest underwater tunnels.
The world's longest underwater tunnels officially open after years of engineering.
That's the complete manufacturing and construction journey of the world's longest underwater tunnels.
In the world's longest underwater tunnels, advanced ventilation, monitoring, and emergency systems allow both cars and...
Once completed, the world's longest underwater tunnels safely carry thousands of cars every day, designed to withstand enormous